Great to see you.
Great to see you too.
Yeah, it's wonderful to have you with us. I'll just say a couple words. Maestro Yoel Levi has an illustrious career as a conductor. I met you through the KBS Orchestra in Korea, where I played as a guest principal on several occasions. And it was great to do so many different programs with you. And I think you created a real international meeting place for musicians by bringing the different guest principals from Europe and United States. And it's great to have this opportunity to have a conversation with you. So first, just wanted to say, how are you doing during this Corona times? And what does your life look like now since March?
Well, as everyone knows, the whole world stopped, and we all in a state of shock that this pandemic is going for so long, and we cannot perform. And musicians all over the world are extremely desperate, frustrated, depressed, of course, and it's a difficult time, no question. And we try to take the time to do things that we never had the time to think about. So on the other hand, we all longing for the days that this will end, and come back to perform, all of us together on stage.
Yeah. Speaking of that, what do you think we all dream that this will, of course, end as soon as possible. But what do you see as the kind of beginning of coming back to normal, to concert life? I mean, I think it looks like it's not going to be right away as we remembered it before.
Right. Well, what I see, and it might take time. We need to look at this period as a transitional period. It can take another 6 months. It can take another year. So what do we do in the meantime? I think the most important thing is the moment an orchestra of, let's say, 100 people can get together. From that moment, I would do, again, everyone has different opinions, but I would recommend immediately to create live concerts online with each city with a base subscription for their own city. And reasons for that, of course. First, to keep this communication and connection with your own community, with your own support. Second, of course, you provide a livelihood for your musicians. Third, the musicians start to play again and make music and practice. If we don't do that, and I will not play for a whole year, we will create a disaster. We will disconnect ourselves with our community. Musicians will be in very difficult stress. Orchestras might lose musicians. The level of probably might go down because of lack of playing, and it could be a disastrous, and some orchestras will disappear. So that's what they need to do right now: create a subscription, and start performing in the near future online, live concerts every week, a different program, and make still this connection with your own community.
That is great, and actually very original, because we see some, concerts happening online that are open to everyone.
Right.
But to connect with your own community,
that's the first thing you need to connect with community, and and it could be a minimal fee. It doesn't matter. A minimal fee, it's for a family just to pay a minimal fee. However, many people watching, and it could be thousands of people in your own community.
Right.
Of course, you can open it for outside your city as well.
Yeah.
But important is to keep this connection with your own community.
Yeah, I think that's great. And also the feeling of routine, when we play concerts every week, also for the audience, they're used to having a concert.
It becomes an event. They start getting used to, oh, listen, tonight I'm not going to make dinner plans because I have my orchestra coming tonight. I don't want to miss it. It's going to be great.
Yeah.
So start to create this base, this new norm that can last. Who knows? No one knows. It can last another 6 months, another year. In the meantime, you keep the orchestras alive, and that's the most important.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Speaking of community, I remember very well, your concerts in Korea at the Seoul Art Center. The audience, feeling that we have kind of like the same audience coming every time, and expecting something really great from the different programs. Talk a little bit about your time with the KBS Orchestra, since this is the most recent chapter.
Right. Well, I had a wonderful, words cannot describe these 6 years that I spent with KBS and with orchestra members, and also with the audiences. As you saw yourself,
Yeah.
we had the most incredible audiences that were growing year after year. And every concert that we did became a special event. It was really also for me personally a great satisfaction to see how the relationship with the people in Korea developed, how the relationship with orchestra members, I got to know them better. And of course, all the musicians that came from all over the world to be part of KBS. And we all together, we performed some incredible concerts, tours, recordings that I'm very proud and very lucky to have that opportunity.
Yeah, and just one highlight of that time I have here. I was just listening yesterday. This great experience of recording Mahler 9 with you in the new Lotte Concert Hall.
Correct.
Which was very recent. This was very recent, just a year ago, a year, 2 years ago.
Yeah, yeah. It was, and I still
talk a little bit about that. Yeah.
Well, we had also a wonderful producer, Christopher Adler, who produced many historical recordings with Claudio Abbado and others, and one of the finest producers probably I ever worked with.
Wow.
Wonderful gentleman, a great musician as well, and our collaboration together with Jimmy, that was our technical maven, really. It was the best team I ever worked in my life, literally, best ever from in the world.
Wow.
And also that we had a great concert hall for recording, and Lotte is one of the finest, no question about it. And the orchestra were at their best, and I still remember that performance, the live performance at Lotte, that was absolutely beyond words. And I think this recording is really, I believe, one of my personal finest recordings I have ever done, even though I've done many recordings. This is really one of the ones that absolutely closest to my heart.
Yeah, it's really special. And actually, speaking of recordings, I know you made so many with the Atlanta Symphony, probably
Correct.
2. I think you mentioned 2 per year, something like that, which is
Atlanta. We did over 30 recordings, and also
incredible.
Some very fine recordings, very fine.
Which recordings stand out to you? I know that I remember talking to you about the Planets recording, which was very special. Which other ones?
It is.
There's so many.
It's like someone asking you,
which child?
Which child do you prefer?
Yeah.
You know, I love all of them, and we had a fantastic recordings with Atlanta Symphony. I know it sounds repetitive, but it is true. I mean, for example, you said the planet. I was thinking of Stravinsky's Rite of Spring, for example, and of course, most of the Mahler symphonies were recorded with Atlanta, and Ravel and Hindemith and God knows Beethoven and Brahms, and I mean, we did a huge, large repertoire with Atlanta Symphony and on the highest level, and some recordings really, for example, the Stravinsky was mentioned in the BBC magazine as is the best of all recordings.
Wow.
And so it was really, every recording had a special in my heart and a special memory, and they all, like all of them, of course, some were even closer to my heart, the composer, but it's only because of the composers that I loved more certain music than others.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Um, I wanted to ask you, I'm sure you get this question a lot. You're someone that conducts everything from memory. At which point did that start? Was that something right in the very beginning of your career, or is it something that evolved over time um, as you
Well,
were conducting?
well, let's go back before the conducting.
Okay,
As a
that's great.
violinist, and I had this wonderful violin teacher, Ilona Feher, who
Right,
was a very teacher of Pinkas Zuckerman and Shlomo Mintz, Shmuel Ashkenazi, and many
many others.
more. And she was a very special, demanding character. And I always remember what she used to say to me: to perform music, you need to feel it from your smallest toe in your foot till your hair on top of your head. It needs to be part of you. You cannot tie yourself to the music. You need to be free. You need to know it so well that it becomes part of your soul, of your body, of your mind.
Hmm.
For her, unless I knew everything from memory, it was unacceptable. It
Wow.
was violin, that was different. And then I think I discovered through challenging myself, and that's the way everyone should discover what he or she can do, only when they challenge themselves. And when I came to the Cleveland Orchestra with Lauren Mazel, and I saw his ability, I saw something that I never seen before, because it was a new situation for me. And memorizing scores is very different from playing from memory. It's
Mhm.
totally memory. Uh, when you play an instrument, whatever, clarinet or violin or piano, there comes a moment that your fingers take over in a way, if you can say that, at least part of the time. Part of the time. In conducting, you have to visualize the score. And when I started challenging myself during the Cleveland Orchestra days, that's where I started to discover my ability. But I had to challenge myself. It didn't happen just like that. The more I challenged myself, the more I developed myself. And then, of course, experience comes into the picture and other elements. But the basic thing is how to concentrate, how to focus, how to challenge yourself and your memory and visualize things in front of you.
Mhm. Yeah,
This
that's incredible. I mean,
is a nutshell.
in a nutshell, yeah. No, but it's great because I've rarely seen, and all of us, it's like when you did the Korean work, I think, like with new music too. It's something unimaginable. That something that obviously you did not have a lot of time with, but still to be able to do it from memory, um, it's
Well,
something that
music, it doesn't matter if it's new, old, new composition, old composition,
yeah.
music. And once you learn it, digest it, and it has to be part of you. When it
Right.
becomes part of you, I remember when Lauren Mazel said to me, that was many, many years ago, when I was really, before I even came to the Cleveland Orchestra, I met him in Israel. He was conducting the Israel Philharmonic, and I came backstage, and he said to me, you know, a composition of Richard Strauss, you know, when do you know it? It's only when you can go through it in your mind, bar after bar. When you can go through it in your mind, bar after bar, from the beginning till the end, then you know the piece. And that was a very truthful statement.
Wow. Yeah, incredible. Let's talk a little bit more about the early years in Israel, because you know, so many incredible musicians passed through there. You know,
Right.
soloists, conductors, and you had an affiliation with Israel Philharmonic from a pretty young age, right? And then as principal guest conductor, as the first Israeli principal guest conductor.
Right.
Talk a little bit about, you know, first the early years in Israel, and then your relationship with the Philharmonic.
Well, I don't know where to start, to be honest, but Israel Philharmonic was really my home for many years. My musical home, my inspiration. One of my teachers was a member of the orchestra. He was a principal timpani, Don Steiner, and percussion, and a lot of colleagues. There are a lot of friends that I grew up together. And the Israel Philharmonic and Zubin Mehta were the first one to give me the first opportunity. And it is a credit to Zubin Mehta that gave me to conduct in a dress rehearsal of Othello, where I was a very young boy who never conducted an opera in his life. Let me conduct the whole first act of Othello with the Israel Philharmonic on a dress rehearsal. It was incredible, courageous, not knowing what can I do, and only by talking to him. But he loved to do things like that, to test people, and I think he expected also to see what happened, because that night changed my life forever.
Oh, wow.
Because I think he thought maybe it will be a 2 minutes experience and the whole thing probably will collapse. And even the orchestra members 99% didn't know who I was. Even though I was a member of I just remember, but I was sitting somewhere in the back and no one knew.
They never looked back there.
They had no idea who I was. And they looked at me very suspiciously at that time. It was very, very, let's say, proud orchestra that looked at young conductors not in the nicest way as those days. Today it's a different. And so I started the Othello, and one of the most incredible operas. And I went through the whole first at least 40 minutes or more, and I knew everything, and it was in my mind, and conducted the whole thing. First time in my life, it was from memory. I didn't use any music. I knew everything. Wow. And when that moment and the reaction of the members and the soloists, all the international singers, and Mehta himself came to me, was extremely complimentary and generous and encouraging. And because of him, that night I decided, and he encouraged me as well, to go to study with Franco Ferrara in Italy. So that really was an event that changed my life forever.
Wow, wow, and what a great beginning.
After that, I went to Cleveland, and I started coming back from time to time to the Israel Philharmonic as a guest, and conducted this concert, that concert, and our relationship started evolving more and more. And then I had some really wonderful years as a principal guest conductor, and we did some international tours, and incredible, numerous amount of repertoire.
Yeah, incredible. Wow. So you did the rehearsal and then you also did the concert of the Othello?
No,
Or that was the
it was
dress rehearsal?
rehearsal.
Just a run?
Act, first act, but it's enough, believe me.
Yeah, no, no, that's great.
For a young
What
conductor
an opportunity.
that never conducted a professional orchestra, never conducted opera in his life, for the first time, I mean,
Incredible.
to jump into one of the most significant operas of Verdi, that's a different ballgame.
What were some of the concerts, you know, as a young person in Israel that really resonated with you? Some of the people that came through, just from the audience perspective.
Well, I have seen almost everyone. I mean, it's
Wow.
like a mecca for the top soloists, conductors.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was very fortunate to see Arthur Rubinstein, Yasha Heifetz, Piatigorsky, Isaac Stern, of course. Uh, God, the list is Ida Handel, of course, Sharing. I mean, the list is
Amazing.
endless. And conductors from Bernstein to Steinberg to Celividake, Pado.
Wow.
I mean, the list is endless. I've seen the best of the best. And of course, Zubin, of course, Meita, I've seen a lot conducting and staying in rehearsals. It was incredible that probably cannot be duplicated again. To see this kind of giants, to witness them, how they music, their musical integrity level and imagination and commitment to what they were doing. That is something else that you cannot see anymore, unfortunately. It is something, I don't know, maybe I'm very nostalgic.
No,
But to see this kind of giants in front of you that create music, and when they start creating music, nothing else exists. Nothing else. This is
yes,
100% pure music.
amazing. I mean, I can't even imagine what it's like to see somebody like Heifetz live. I mean, what
Heifetz and Piatigorsky
together?
together, and then Heifetz alone. I mean, it was, I will never forget when Heifetz came to Israel. Literally, it was like God arrived to Israel. The tickets were gone within 1 hour, not tickets. People in the at that time auditorium, which
Yeah,
was which is a big concert hall, and I think you could seat about 2,600 people sitting on all the stairs, Not
yes,
forget about this, all the stairs. I mean, I don't know how they got into the hall, but it was crazy. And his recital, the whole stage of the concert hall was filled with people sitting on stage, and they left like just a few small circle of a few yards for the
for him too.
and Heifetz. That's it. And he was surrounded. I mean, I have never seen anything like that in my life. And it was the silence in the concert hall you cannot imagine.
Hmm.
No coughing. Forget about coughing.
Nobody's breathing.
No one was breathing. It was like God appeared there. And luckily, many years after, I got a wonderful picture from that event
Oh wow.
that someone from the Israel Philharmonic took pictures, and I can see myself standing at the end of the recital in front of the stage, in front of Heifetz, together with my friends, and a whole crowd. And I was very lucky. I cherish that picture tremendously, really.
Oh, that's amazing. What a great memory. Um, let's talk maybe a little bit about, you know, for young aspiring orchestra musicians. And
Mm-hmm.
this actually ties into some questions that some of the viewers sent to me ahead of time. Um, what do you look for in orchestra musicians or in musicians in general I know that you've sat through so many auditions, especially at KBS, and a lot of times, there was just nobody at that moment, that day, that you thought would fit, or you together with the group of committee. What do you look for? And more specifically, maybe we can address it to woodwinds, because there's one question here from Rachel Lipsky, that was a friend of yours. Mm-hmm. As a former professional clarinet player, I wonder what type of clarinet sound do you look for, and what are the most important qualities you look for in woodwind players?
Okay, let's talk first about woodwinds. Well, woodwinds. And look, first, of course, there is a certain repertoire that is my list that I expect them to perform. And then, of course, it doesn't matter if it's brass or woodwinds.
Yeah.
Quality of the sound. Now, of course, what I perceive as quality, some other people maybe will not be able to hear what I'm hearing. I'm looking for the quality of sound, the musicianship, intonation, the rhythm, knowing the repertoire properly. So once you cover all these bases, you're in good shape.
Yeah.
You're in good shape. It's the same for every instrument. You look how well they know the repertoire. How do they really know only that page, or they know the whole? If you ask them to do something different, do they understand what's coming after, before? How is the whole picture? Did they really study the piece? But these things comes later. In the beginning, you want to see basic, high quality playing, quality sound. Sound is the number one. Of course, intonation. Without intonation, we cannot survive. And musicianship, flexibility, very important, and knowledge of the repertoire.
I remember that sometimes we would have guest principals play. And when I would talk to you during the break of the rehearsal, sometimes there'll be a new guest principal, whether it's oboe or flute or bassoon.
Right.
And immediately you could tell after, just the first half of the rehearsal that, okay, I like how this person plays. I have a good connection with them. Yeah.
So especially in winds, either woodwinds or brass, the quality and the musicianship and the flexibility, because it cannot be one way. We all have to together to listen to each other. And once we are able to do that, and there is dialogue between all of us and between all the woodwinds together, it's a different group. If they understand, they like, and they play together, they enjoy it much more. If it is just individuals sitting on stage, and everyone is part and don't care what the other one doing, you cannot do anything here. You have to be patient, but they really work together. And the more you encourage, the more they will enjoy it at the end.
Yeah, that's great. And actually, one more question that relates to this, and this is from Sheila McLeod. And that's kind of an interesting question. Do you have any particular thoughts in what you would look for in auxiliary players? Says, for example, E flat and bass or piccolo, or is there anything different? I mean, that is not covered here. Same.
The same. Everything I said so far, it doesn't matter which you play. It's E flat or piccolo, bass clarinet, or English horn. Quality is quality. Sound quality, intonation, technique, of course. This is relevant to every instrument that you play.
Yeah. Great. Well, we covered already a lot of ground in a short time. Maybe we can talk about when we come back, and hopefully as soon as possible, to concert life. What are some things that you still want to do? Maybe you already have done but haven't done for a while, or what are some pieces, or
Well, as you know, the repertoire,
it's so big?
it's really endless. And it's always nice to come back to certain pieces. It's like visiting an old friend, and you meet that friend again, and you discover that that friend is so beautiful and so meaningful, and you discover new things about that friend. And it's the same with, you know, I would love to come back and do the Guri leader that we just
Which is it? Yeah.
last year, and I did it for the first time in my life, the Guru leader of Schoenberg. And it was for me falling in love in one of the most incredible pieces ever written in the literature. The most romantic. Yes, it is complex sometimes, sometimes underestimating what I just said. It is complex. It's a complex score, no question. However, it was worth the seconds that I invested in time learning this piece and enjoying and discovering one of the most beautiful romantic pieces ever written. So that I would love to do. And of course, the repertoire is endless. Again, of course,
Yeah.
Makovich and some operas, of course, and God.
Yeah. And just to mention all the awards that the orchestra received for that performance and other performances. I remember there was once an award, and for those who are not familiar with the concert life in Seoul, many orchestras are coming through, some of the best orchestras in the world. And I believe one of the main newspapers chose the KBS orchestra that year as the best
Right. Actually,
live concert.
what they were doing in Korea, which is very interesting, they have different journals that coming to different performances, and you never know. It's totally incognito. No one knows to which orchestra, and we have, as you know, in Korea, all the top orchestras in the world come on,
Yeah.
either from Europe, most Europe, some from the States sometimes come, and they all perform. And then at the end, all this group of journalists, they make a decision and they choose which performance for them was the best of the year. And I was very happy and very fortunate that the KBS orchestra together with me, we got that award for the last Guri leader. We got the award also before, a couple of years before, for another performance of Shostakovich with James Aines, and it was an incredible performance. I still remember the violin concerto.
Yeah.
Incredible. That was another program, Prokofiev and Shostakovich, but the Schoenberg that we did for the first time, also for all the orchestra.
Yeah, of course.
First time in their lives. First time.
Yeah.
Me too, and it was a lot of work, no question. We had to add a little bit extra rehearsals because of the magnitude of the piece. It is 120 minutes net.
Yeah.
Net. It's net. So it's a lot of music. It just, by the nature of the beast, you need to work more, no question. But it was worth it because at the end of the day, it was experience I will never forget. And this is a piece that I would love again.
To come back to.
Absolutely. It's not enough. Something so beautiful. It's like eating the best chocolate. It's not enough one time. You have to.
You need to do it again.
Absolutely.
That's great. I also remember the Britain War Requiem was a big highlight.
Yeah.
During that time. Yeah.
But the Britain War Requiem, of course, I've done several times.
Many times, yeah.
Actually, last November, I did
in Israel.
Harmonic. And
Yeah.
we did several performances, like 6 or 7. I don't remember even how many. It was great, really great. And that's another great piece, one of the best masterpieces of the 20th century.
Yes.
Also very hard, especially these days of all the crazy all over the world, either local or conflicts. You know, it's humanity is being challenged day by day, unfortunately, and some ugly things happening these days, and we all hope that we will not lose our humanity and we'll get over this difficult time period and discover the beauty in our humanity.
Yeah, that's great. Beautifully said. Well, I think this sounds like a good place to wrap things up. I think it's a great it's been a great conversation. So many subjects
Oh,
that
thank
we covered.
you, Alexander. I'm really looking for the days that we do something together again.
I know, I know. I really miss it.
I will have to do when you are playing the Mozart with me and or others. I don't care.
That'd be great. That'd be great. Yeah, I'm gonna record you on this, so we will do it. Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for everyone watching.
Really. Yeah, and thank you for everyone watching. We had people from everywhere, all over the world,
Oh, that's
tuning in. So thank you, everyone.
thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Care. Bye.